Hello, and welcome to the wonderful world of Facebook Live with me, Martin. Hope you're doing very well. Welcome to this wonderful spring day from the Algarve in Portugal. Very happy to be back on here doing some videos. I'm testing a new mic, so hopefully the sound is working okay. Yes, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I hope that all is well. And I wanted to come on today and share some news, some inspiration, some thoughts, some discoveries that I've had over the past year, and I wanted to share some things about my experiences and things that have been going on with me. So I've been having a little bit of a break from social media, very minimal. So I haven't been replying to many people. There's lots of things that have been going on, and I want to share a little bit about that now. So in the title, I have used a little bit of clickbait because, and this is going to be a lot about what we're talking about here, is in this world now, we need something that grabs our attention. It needs to be fast, it needs to be quick, and human nature a lot of times it goes towards the negative or the something that's out of the ordinary. So I put a little title there just as a little bit of not controversy, but just sharing something that is going to catch the attention, because what we need to do is turn our attention away from the things that are really drawing our attention negatively, and that is the point of that title, that I wanted to do that, is show how if something looks particularly negative or interesting, it's like when we drive past a car accident, or human nature just takes our attention towards that accident. It's not something that we particularly would want to see, but something in our attention takes us towards that. So I wanted to share my experiences over the last year. So about 1 year ago, I went with my lovely wife to Peru, to the Amazon in Peru, to do a 10-day ayahuasca retreat, very intense dieta. For those who don't know what ayahuasca is, I can talk a little bit about that, but I will say that anything that I say here will only barely scratch the surface on what actually ayahuasca is, because words cannot never do it justice. Like a lot of the things that I talk about, the limitations of language are very poor substitute for what the actual experience is. But ayahuasca it's a technology. It is a gift. It is not from this world, although it manifests in this world through plants, through a combination of two plants that grow in the Amazon. It has been used for thousands of years by shamans for healing, for altering their consciousness, for many different uses. And in recent times, it has become more common that people in the West have become aware of it, and they travel to Peru and Brazil and places like this to experience this sacred plant medicine in its original state. Also, more and more, it is coming to the West and to cities and other things. And there are several, there are lots of opinions around that. But this was not the first time that I did ayahuasca. My first time, I actually did it in a very in a city environment, outside of the normal setting for ayahuasca, and I can say it was a beautiful, powerful experience. And just recently, a very good friend of mine has shared a document with me, which is basically the consciousness of ayahuasca, sharing its manifesto, basically. What is the purpose behind ayahuasca? Why has it come to the earth at this time? Why is it coming to the West? Why is it being brought outside of the Amazon? And that's a very amazing document, and it shares all of the information, and it's really based around what is the purpose of ayahuasca, why is it coming out of the Amazon, what is it here to teach us, and basically how to keep it sacred and how to use it in the way that it was designed. So my experience, as I said, I had one experience a few years ago in a city environment, which was incredible. It was very positive, very transformative. It was a 2-day experience. So the one that we did last year was the traditional. So we went to Peru. We met with a shaman who is in her 70s. She's been doing ayahuasca since she was 13. She learned with her father the shamanic traditions through the family, and we did a 10-day dieta. So basically what that means is that you will do 1 day of fasting and then 1 day of the ayahuasca, 1 day fasting. So 5 days fasting and 5 days of the ayahuasca. So this experience was just incredible. As I say, my language, I'm going to use my limited grasp of the English language to describe to you some of the things that happened, and it will be limited, but I can give you as best I can using these limitations of the English language. So the brew ayahuasca is prepared by mixing 2 plants that are grown in the Amazon. So in the Amazon there's hundreds of thousands of plants, and somehow, whatever many thousands or hundreds of years ago, some shamans discovered that a specific mix of 2 plants would create a certain effect when ingested. Again, this is miraculous on its own, the hundreds of thousands of plants that are in the Amazon, and for them to find these specific 2 plants and put them together in this specific way, and it's all related to DMT, and a naturally occurring element in the body, which is naturally occurring in plants and humans. So this experience of ayahuasca it's varied for everyone. It's not the same for everyone, but I can describe my specifically the experience in Peru. So it was 5 days of ceremonies and 5 days of fasts. The first day that I did, I could literally say it was a living hell. It was one of the most difficult experiences of my life, and less because of the experience that I was having personally, but more so because of something that I teach people a lot, and in experience it's quite easy for me to teach people to stay on their own journey when we're doing spiritual work or breath work, to focus on their journey, don't worry about what anyone else is doing. But I was there with my wife, who was doing this for the first time, and sorry, I'll just let this train go past. So yeah, the first experience, the first day, it was my wife's first time. I was doing it with her, and it was a living hell because I knew she was going through a very difficult experience, and all I wanted to do was help her and trying to assist her and be there for her. But ayahuasca had other ideas, and literally my body, I physically could not move. I couldn't speak. I could get out some words, but I had to learn this lesson to let her go through her journey on her own and focus on my own journey. So that first day was literally like a living hell. It was painful. I felt powerless, and I felt the pain of my wife going through a lot of things that she wanted to go through. So if you're new to this concept, you might be thinking now, why would anyone want to do something like this? And I'm sure there are moments when people do this that they think that as well, but what you'll find, and what I have found in life, that anything that is worth having, anything that is worth discovering, a lot of times in the human experience, it does come through pain, through facing our fears, through moving beyond the limitations of the body and moving beyond what we see here as reality, and always focusing on the light and always focusing on things that are positive and uplifting. While there is room for that, we are incomplete if we only focus on the light. If we don't look at our shadows, if we don't see the dark side of ourselves, if we don't delve into the fullness and wholeness of our being. And this is going to be the theme of this video, and the reason that I want to share this is that that work has been ongoing since I left Peru. It's been ongoing for years, but ayahuasca is like a fast forward. It's like a blasting open your consciousness, and it will show you all of the elements of your consciousness. It won't leave any stone unturned. Also, I would say it will never give you anything that you are not ready for, that you can't handle, but a lot of people may feel very overwhelmed when they do that. So the first day was, yes, I live in hell. It was all about release. Hey, me too, how are you doing? Can you just let me know that the sound is working okay? Me too, please. So that first day of hell, we went through together, and it had been a year that I had discussed with my wife Elise if she wanted to do this. I say she'd never done anything like this in the past. People who know me know I have a long history with other types of mind-altering substances, and in no way does ayahuasca fall into that category, but it does give you some frame of reference if you've done these other things which are, I would say, non-spiritual. Okay, thank you, brilliant. I'm just testing a new mic, so hoping that was working. So after that night and release and the effects wore off, then we went through, and when the effects wore off, we actually felt okay. We felt good. We felt like it was a very tough journey, but we went through it, and things started to open up, and we had a good talk, and I was very happy that Elise came through it okay and well, and she was happy to share her experiences, and she was empowered by going through what we could call a living hell, and facing her demons, facing her shadows, facing all of the fears, all of the dark elements that we try to hide from the world. Ayahuasca will show you that if you're ready and if you need to see that. So the sessions moving on from that, we had 4 more sessions. They varied between difficult situations and then absolute pure love and pure bliss. So I won't run down completely the what it was, but at the end it was very complete, a very whole experience, a very demanding, a wonderful experience, like just completely eye-opening, paradigm shifting, consciousness opening. But the reason for this video is because I wanted to talk about the after effects and what it truly showed me in that ayahuasca. So I think it may have been on the 3rd or 4th session for me. I had a couple of really light ones, and then it was the 3rd or 4th that I was shown that all of the dark elements that we see in the world, I was shown that they are part of me. And not only are they part of me, that they were me. So that all of the murder, all of the torture, all of the rape, all of the war, all of the abuse, everything that we would see as the darkest elements of humanity, they were part of me, and they were a potential within me, either manifest or the potential to be manifest. So I was able to experience myself as, it wasn't this specifically, but if you could imagine, I was able to experience myself as someone like Hitler, or someone who had murdered hundreds of millions of people. Those types of experiences, it wasn't specific for me, it was more of a feeling. So I could feel the pain of the whole of humanity. I could feel the suffering and the torture and the hurt and the fears of all of humanity. I merged with that. I was one with that. And it wasn't as an observer, as feeling sorry for a victim and perpetrator, or it was actually being the perpetrator and being the victim as one. It was wholeness. So this again was very difficult. There was a lot of tears. I felt like a draining in my being as I accepted that. I was shown it, that this was me. So we hear in the spiritual community, esoteric, metaphysical, we hear it a lot, we are one. But a lot of times this is just words. This is not something that we've had a direct experience of. And ayahuasca is one of the things that can actually give you that experience, to feel what it feels like to be the victim, to be the perpetrator, to be a murderer, to be the murdered. So Elise also had this experience where but hers was more specific, where she literally could see alternate realities, parallel realities, where she was specifically seeing people that are in her life now, this third dimensional reality in her life, this incarnation, where she would, the roles were flipped, where she would, anyone that hurt her in this life, she could see how she hurt them in another life. For me, it was more broad, and it was like a collective humanity. So I felt all the suffering, all the pain. I felt every bit of pain, suffering, fear, worry, doubt, stress, like to the extreme. I felt it all. And that gave me a completely new perspective and paradigm shift. It opened my consciousness to literally, we are one. Is that, and it's very important in today's world, what is going on, what we see in the world. It's always important, but more so it's been heightened because the energies are expanding, and because things are speeding up, and we are moving into a new place, a new realm. We're moving into a new dimension. Timelines are splitting, and all of the dark elements of humanity are being brought up to the surface to be either owned or pushed away and fought against. And what I have learned through this process is that everything that we push away, everything that we deny, everything that we try to separate ourselves from will continue in our reality. So all of the things that are going on in the world now, where we see lots of pain, lots of suffering, lots of war, and lots of pretty much crazy behavior, is a part of each one of us. So we look outside world and we see all of these things going on, and we see this as separate from us, and we think, I could never be this person who hurts and murders and kills and tortures and abuses. These are outside of me, and I disown that. That is not part of me. But in reality, the longer we do that, the longer that will continue in our lives. So how do we take control of that? I know that's a grand statement. It might be difficult for people to understand that every negative thought, every abusive thought, every time that you abuse your body, every time you abuse someone just with your thought, your intentions, on a grander scale, that leads to war. It leads to suffering of people. It leads to separation. It leads to divisions. It leads to these imaginary dividing lines and countries and wars and these types of things. So how do we take our power back from that? And what we do is, again, I received this through ayahuasca, and since I've done so much work that has allowed me to do that, is to actually own all of the negative, fear-based, all of the traits that we detest in the world. We need to own them ourselves and realize that they, number one, firstly, they are part of us, and number two, to own them and see that we are capable of all of these things, at least at the level of a potential. I'm not saying that everyone was going to have an experience of how they could be a murderer or an abuser or a rapist or a killer, whatever, but we have the potential to have a murderous thought. And when we've lost our temper, we're very tired, and someone really pisses us off, we can have a murderous thought. There is, in the quantum field, in the wider scale, there is no difference in hitting someone inside with words and verbal abuse and visualizations, and the outer manifestations are the next stage of that. So the sooner that we can own in our personal lives all of the things that are our shadows, are parts of ourselves that we are ashamed of, shame and guilt and fear and all of these things, these will continue to manifest in the wider world as war and suffering, but in our personal lives they will continue to turn up through people who will mirror that aspect of ourselves to us. So if we have grew up with abusive environments, later in life, if we don't deal with that, if we don't come to terms with that and accept that, if we fight it all of the time, and I've worked with many people who have went through things that I personally say I can hardly imagine, even though they've told me, but I can't imagine it and I can't experience it because I've not. But I've had people who have owned all of them, literally all of the things that we would think of as the most darkest, heinous acts that another human can do to a human. I've worked with people who have gone through the process of owning that, accepting that, and not fighting it and pushing it away and being a victim of that in their later life, all of their lives. And to me, that is the unbelievable, the things that people can do. But it is, I say unbelievable, but I've seen people do it, and those people are the people that are changing the world. Those people are the ones that are transforming, that are transmuting hate and fear. And I'm going to have to move this because I think the sun is getting onto my phone, so I'll take a little walk. So these people are the people that are literally transforming the world, because they are transmuting hate and abuse and fear and torture, and they are, there we go, they are transmuting it, and they are shifting, and they are changing the reality for each of us. So you may have had an okay childhood, everything was fine, or you may have been very blessed. I was very blessed with a very balanced and good upbringing and environment, but that didn't stop me from creating lots of toxic emotions, lots of very negative traits, I would say, in relationship to myself and to others, and it didn't stop me from doing lots of things that I would never, when I see myself now, that I would never do. So the levels of the physical manifestation of these things are not necessarily going to be dictated by the worst of the worst physical environments that we grew up. Of course, they will manifest much quicker, but we see this in these school shootings and these types of things. A lot of times the people they just come from normal lives. We don't see anything particularly outlandish of how that they should get to that point, but they do get to that point. So all of these shadow elements, all of the darkness they are parts of ourselves that want to be accepted, that want to be seen, and that want to be integrated. And as I said, the longer we go through fighting the things that we hate about ourselves and others, the longer that we push those away and keep those deeply buried, the longer this will continue to manifest in our world. It'll manifest in the wider world as war and suffering and pain and separation. It'll manifest in our personal world as relationships which are basically at war. It'll manifest as disease and illness in the body. It'll manifest in limitations around all things, around money, knowledge, wisdom. All of those things are going to be kept hidden until we can accept and own all of the parts of ourselves, those shadow selves, those darkest parts of ourselves. So the way in which we discover those is through things like ayahuasca, but we don't need ayahuasca. And again, I started this video talking about ayahuasca. It's funny that I say, I don't recommend people to do ayahuasca, and that doesn't mean that I don't think that people should do it. It means that I don't say to someone, I think you should do ayahuasca. Ayahuasca will call you. Ayahuasca is a technology. Ayahuasca will be an agreement where you have made on a higher level with your higher self of a way in which that you will alter your consciousness to see the things that you need to see, to make the changes you need to make. So I don't recommend people. If people approach me about it, I say, if you are ready for ayahuasca, and if ayahuasca is calling you, then you will know. You don't need anyone else to tell you. You won't need to watch videos like I did. I'd been researching it for quite some time, but it calls you. It's something you're giving a call to yourself through this technology, through this sacred plant medicine, and that will call you. So, but as I say, we don't need those. Not everyone. Ayahuasca is not for everyone. There are ways in which we can do this process on our own, without any substances, without anyone else, but it involves a lot of self-introspection. It involves a very honest look at your life, and it involves looking at the people in your life, the patterns, the things that dominate your experience, and actually owning them. So the things that we see within the world, the things that we see in the outside world that annoy us the most, or that create emotional imbalance, or that we hate, those are the things the first things that we need to own within ourselves. Those are the things that are going to be the most highly charged, the most difficult parts of ourselves to own. So those things that really piss us off, those are the first things that we need to look, and we need to go within and find within our life when was this belief or this part of ourselves hidden. And generally for most people it's going to be in childhood, where we take on the beliefs of our culture, our society, our parents, all of those things. Those will create various shadows, various dark elements of ourselves that we don't want to, that we push away. And there are also gifts in those dark shadows. So there's parts of ourselves that we hide, and because we don't want to be seen as an abuser, as a controller, as a murderer, as someone who hurts other people, generally the gift of the shadow is that we go to the opposite end of that. So if we feel our shadow is complete unworthiness, we will spend our whole life spending our time proving to the world that we are worthy, proving that we need to do something to be worthy. Or it may be, if it's like a selfishness or greed is our shadow. It's a part of ourselves that we don't want anyone to see us as. We will become very giving, we'll become very nurturing, very selfless. So that is the gifts of those things that are repressed. But we are not whole until we own the fullness and the wholeness of all that we are. So we cannot know the light until we know the dark. We cannot be whole until we see, embrace, love, honor, and accept the darkest parts of our consciousness, the darkest parts, the potentials that we have within us for all things. And all humanity has these possibilities and these potentials within us, because we are all one. We are one collective consciousness, and all the things that we see within the world that are what we would see as the darkest or the lowest forms of human experience, they are potentials within us. They are potentially manifest potentials within us. But whether they've been manifest in this life or before, all is one now. Anyway, everything exists here and now. But whether we have experienced it as a conscious remembrance of that is not the point. We have to accept that this is. We don't have to. If we want to become whole, if we want to have peace, if we want to transform our lives, if we want to change our environment, if we want to change what we see on the grander scale, we have to accept and own all our dark side, all of our shadows, all of the things that we project onto the world that as something that we need to fight, something that we need to push away. And this is what we are seeing in the world. And so I can move on to now. This bee is going to come into my ear, so I am at peace with the bee. So in the title I talked about WW3, and again I used a little bit of clickbait there to kind of prove a point. So just recently, as I said, this was 1 year ago, I had that second experience with ayahuasca, but just recently through a dream I had a similar experience to the ayahuasca experience, which was incredible because it was just a dream and I woke up with a same experience. So again, I was given the perspective of all the things that I hate, all the things that I cannot own within myself. I was given that perspective. So we'd be talking about murder and rape and abuse and all of the things that really for me are it's even with all the awareness that I've had and the downloads that I've had and the things, it's until you get direct experience of that part of yourself that has that potential. It's only words. And through this dream I was given the experience from the perspective of someone that could be, let's say, a murderer, a rapist, an abuser, all of these things. And I was given that experience from their perspective as myself, as my consciousness. And from that perspective, this is going to be difficult for lots of people to hear, maybe controversial, but I'm going to share. I don't hold anything back. Through this awareness, I was given that those people who we see doing all of those things, in their awareness, this is what I was shown and this is my perspective, is that they, when they are involved in these things, they don't see this as something wrong. No one does something that they think is wrong. Everyone is acting in their own self-interest, and they don't think that this is wrong. And that will be very difficult for a lot of people to hear, that they think that someone who murders or rapes or abuses or does something like that they don't think that they're doing something wrong. So that's the perspective that I was given. And as I say, it can be unless you've been given this experience, like I was through ayahuasca, I was given that experience and I felt it and I knew that pain, but I knew the pain from both aspects. This time it was more so giving me the experience of what it was like on a individual level to be someone like that. So this is not saying that that they are completely that they're angels and everything that this happens is like this perfect. It's that there is something has led to that. It'll be environmental, it'll be personal experience for that person, it will be an imbalance, it will be something that has led to that. Nothing happens within a vacuum, nothing happens without reason or season or environment. So I was given that experience and I woke up. To be honest, when I woke up first, it was very hard for me to accept. Again, I didn't feel very good actually when I woke up. Firstly, I felt like how I could see myself as all of these things from that perspective. And even though I knew, when my mind started to come in, when I knew that they didn't think that they were doing wrong or they weren't doing something that we would, that there was something skewed. Their consciousness is not in the way that we would think from our own perspective. But when I woke up, then I started to receive this download, basically, is what I could describe it as, and it was filling in so the other side of that and showing how all of the things that we see now as war on the planet is really just the macrocosm of our microcosm, the inner world that we are creating through our thoughts, words, beliefs, actions. All of the things that we've created in our experience is just being manifest on the wider scale, and all of the things that we see is just it's a reflection of our collective consciousness. So what I was given then is the letters WW3. So at this time, to most people, when you see WW3, and my first impression when I seen this WW3, I was given this impression it was World War III. But straight away I was given that this was not World War III as we think of it, as this war on the outside. This is actually the war within, and it's through three aspects of ourselves. And ultimately, these three aspects are one, but what we need to see, to experience, to become whole, is to see from these three perspectives what this is. So the war within from three perspectives. So the first perspective I was given, it's the war within you. So you, what you think that you are, what you perceive yourself to be, who you think you are, what you think you are. So as separate being, we see ourselves as individuals in a human body with an experience. So this first war is the war within, and it's the war with ourselves, and it's the war that is created from our separation from source. And that's what we decided to do when we came into these physical bodies. We decided to separate ourselves from the whole, to come into a body where we forgot our wholeness, we forgot our oneness with source, and we wanted to experience separation so that we can re-experience wholeness when we merge again. And this war within is a constant ongoing thing in the human experience, in the third dimensional reality, because we are separate from our conscious perspective here, but when we move beyond that perspective, we can see that we never actually leave. This is actually an illusion, it's a dream, and it is something that we use so that we can experience and appreciate our wholeness. So to know wholeness, we have to know separation. We have to know not wholeness. Again, this can be quite confusing. It can be quite challenging to the mental. It's not meant to make sense to our ego mind, because it is beyond that. It comes from a higher place. It comes from that which we truly are. So the war within, the first perspective, is the war with who we think we are, what we think we are. So we think of ourselves as a separate being, separate from all other beings, and that creates fear and separation and war and not enough, and it creates all of the things that we see that lead to the shadows, the things that we hate, like the war and the murder and the torture and the abuse and the rape and all of the things that are being unearthed now. That is instigated by people who have the war within themselves, because they do not know who and what they truly are. They have forgotten, and we all have forgotten to some degree. But the process of awakening, the process of all of the work that I've been doing, that many thousands and hundreds of thousands of people around the world now, is to awaken to your true essence again, to know who you truly are. And that war within ends not by a battle like in the traditional sense that we feel and that we see on the world now. I'm going to have to shift again because the sun is, let me see if I can go in here. So that war within, the war of who we are, ends with awakening, with realizing that we are oneness, we are wholeness. This body, we are not this body. This body is a vehicle that consciousness uses for an experience of separation. And this separation is an illusion, it is a dream, and it is something that we use while it feels very real, and while our experiences are very real. We use this experience to awaken. So that war within will end when we awaken to our true essence, till we know who and what we are. So the second part of this WW3, so the war within, between the three aspects of ourselves, then it's the second perspective is other. So who we think others are. So all of the other people in the world, it's looking from the opposite perspective now. We would think, who do we think all of the people that we are? So if I give it like a very charged example now, who do we think the Donald Trumps and the Korean guy and all of the people that are creating suffering and war in the world, who do we think they are? Do we know that they are one with us, they're a part of us, they're an actual manifestation of human collective consciousness, which we are a part? Or do we see them as a separate, crazy, torturous being that needs to be fought, that needs to be wars that need to be gotten rid of? That's the second element that I was given. It's the war within, seeing the outside. So what our perspective of the outside world, of other people and our environment is. Do we see it as separate, or do we see it as whole? Again, this war ends when we see our brothers and sisters and all of our environment as one with us, especially the darkest elements. It's easy to be one with the people who show us all the beautiful, loving and inspiring, empowering parts of ourselves. It's much more difficult, it's much more of a challenge, it's much more transformative to actually see all of the people that show us the dark elements of ourselves and know that they are one with us, know that they are us, know that they are showing us all of the parts of ourselves that we have hidden, that we are rejecting, that we are not owning. That is the challenge. So WW1, WW2, war within is the war within, who am I? WW2 is the war within, as I look out, the people I see, the circumstances I see, who and what do I see them as? Are they separate from me? Are they something to be feared? Are they something to be obliterated? Or are they something to be owned, to be listened to be used as a mirror, to take back the projection, to take back the power, to take it back in our personal life, to see that all of the people that are mirroring the things that we hate about ourselves, the things that piss us off the most, those are the greatest gift that we've given to ourselves. We've channeled our consciousness through other beings that are going to give us that perspective. And that is the true gift of that. And that is the second stage that I was given. So it's ourselves, then other people. And then the final one is ultimately all of this is a dream. None of this actually exists. And this is going to be a challenge. If I haven't challenged you enough again before, this is going to really push it even further. But ultimately, we need to realize that all of this is a dream. This is an illusion. This is something that we are using for the evolution of human consciousness. This is something for our soul's growth. This is something that so we can see all of the darkness of within ourselves and the light, and to truly appreciate and own and love the light within ourselves. We have to know, appreciate and own the darkness within ourselves, and the world shows us that, and the other people in our lives and the world show us that very clearly. So the last stage, or the last war, will be when we can completely see through all of the illusions and see through the illusion of our individual selves, so that while we've seen in the first stage that we are one with the whole, and that we are not what we think we are not this body. The second stage, we see that other people are not separate from us, they are one with the whole, and they are reflecting all of the parts of us that we like or we don't like. Then the third stage is moving beyond all of that, moving beyond all separation, moving beyond the limitations of separation, and seeing that all of this is truly a dream, that time doesn't exist. All of this is an illusion that we are using as this oneness, as this God force, as this energy, to experience our magnificence, to experience the oneness, the wholeness of being that God is, this universal source. This it's moving beyond all of the things that are things. So it's moving beyond duality. That is the final step to enlightenment, to oneness, to wholeness, and the step to peace. Realizing that none of us truly exist. We all have individual experiences and individual points of view, but ultimately we are all one thing, and there is no beginning, there is no end, there is no middle, there is no up, there is no down. The duality is this illusion that we have used for this experience, so that we can know. So World War III is this. It's something that is, as a whole, as individuals, as others, as a collective, this is something that we are manifesting to show that either we take back our power individually, or all of this illusion is just going to fall down around us, and we create this reality, and we create with choice, we create with our emotions, and dealing with our shadows, and looking at what exists, and taking ownership of it all, and taking back our victimhood, and coming from that place of oneness, of wholeness. And all the masters taught this, and all of the religions were based in this, but they got skewed, and all of the philosophies are ultimately pointing towards this, but they go about it in many different ways. In human consciousness and complexity, we need so many different ways, and there are infinite ways to climb a mountain, and we just have done so many ways. So that World War III needs to be turned into, if you choose, again, there is no, I say need to, as the language gets me, because we say it. If you want to choose peace, which is peace within yourself, what you need to do is have this war within. And this is a war of light and dark within you. This is, it's easy, as I said before, it's easy to love the light parts of ourselves, the parts we love, the things that are beautiful, and the things that don't separate us from others, the things that we have in common. But what we want to do with this world within, from these three perspectives, from the perspective of the self, the individual self, from the perspective of the self observing the other, and then the third perspective is this perspective of oneness, of wholeness, of no separation, of no other. That is where we need to come from if we want peace, and that's peace within. And when we have peace within, there will be peace without. So the world will transform, our relationships will transform, people, places, things will align, and our reality will mold to that idea of peace, that new paradigm of peace. And that's what the world is awakening to now. And no matter how bad things seem on the outside world, know that ultimately all is going that way, of that third perspective of oneness. And even we can't see it, even you don't understand my words, even it doesn't make any sense, if you think I'm crazy, that's okay too. What I would say is look within yourself, have this war within, this war of light and dark, and look and be brave, and you will make this shift. If you can look at the darkest elements of you and you embrace them and own them, your life will completely transform. And I'm doing this constantly myself, and with Elise we're doing our shadow work, and we are owning all of the aspects of ourselves. And I've been very blessed to be given information as like fast track, because I am here to be a teacher, to be a guide of this complex material. And a few years ago, if I was listening to this video, I would have no idea what I am just talking about now. But I know part of my purpose is to be here to share these concepts in a way. Part of my gift is to share this in a way that people can understand, and try to put it in a way that is not too complex. Although we're talking about very, very paradigm shattering, mind blowing, completely off the charts for what the human experience generally has taught us and shown us, and what we've been shown. I feel like, well, I hope you can tell me that my purpose and my gift to do that is to share it in a way that is available to more people. So you can, even you just got one little snippet of what I said, and you can start to realize that the things that really piss you off in the world are actually coming from things that are deep within you that you haven't dealt with. If you could just start there and look at that, and look at shadow work, and look at ways in which you can start to shift the way you look at things, then that's a step. If you can take it to the next step and see that all the people in the world and the events and all of the things that you really cannot stand, that you can actually own them and be part of them, and know that they are a reflection of your inner world, that's a huge step going forward there as well. Stephanie says, so grateful for your teaching. Thank you. I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you, Stephanie. And yes, I'm truly grateful myself, because, as I say, I feel like I am just a vehicle for this. This is not something that I can lay claim to in any way. I am just being used as a vehicle to share this information and to get this to the world. And there's many people that are doing this, but each person does it in an individual way. So I feel like, as I said, the way that I can do this, and I hope that I am doing this, is that I'm sharing very complex, very not standard information, but I'm sharing it in a way that most people can get some grasp on, and that is my aim. And of course, my delivery of that and my understanding of that, or sharing that with others, is only going to come to the degree that I understand it myself. So it's always going to be filtered through my limitations of language, through my limitations of my interpretation of the conscious experiences that I've had through ayahuasca, through these dreams, through work, through all of the things that I do. It is obviously always still limited by the things that I still have not dealt with, the things that I am still working through, and it is a constant process. And don't feel if this is completely just went straight over your head and you think, I have no idea what he's saying. Just sit with it. Take some small things. If there's something that sort of sparks something small, just go with that, and just know that it's a process that everyone is going through, and everyone will go through, and you cannot get this wrong. It's not something that you can learn in a course, or this is beyond all of the limitations of human experience, but know that we have chosen everything that we're experiencing. Know that we chose to come into this body, and at times when the world is going crazy and we see all of this pain and suffering, and our life is going crazy, and people are changing and things are just upside down, really. I think backward, we could say. We could think, why would I ever choose to do this? Why would anyone want to do this? Why would I choose? When you hear me saying that you choose to do that, I would think, why would I choose that? Why would anyone choose that? From this level of awareness, from this level of consciousness, we can't fully know what our soul's growth, our soul's purpose is. Petsy says, hello, hi Marty. I hit the wrong button there. That's okay, Petsy. We know how technology goes. Love to you, my sister, back in Belfast. So we know, as I said, from the human awareness, it is very difficult for us to know. But I've been very blessed through work I've done and through altering the consciousness, that from our soul level, what we think we know from here is we just cannot describe it. We can't put it into words. We can't give a rhyme or a reason, or we can't give an explanation that is going to be suffice to why our soul would choose pain and suffering, why our soul would choose something that leads to the pain and suffering of others, why children are starving, all of those things. It's such a challenge from our human perspective to see how, on a wider scale, from a soul perspective, that could be adding to the human experience, how that can lead to growth, how that can lead to change. I'll try to put it in a way where it can be understandable, because again, this can be quite a challenge. It can be controversial. I remember when I first got into this, watching Abraham Hicks, and there was an Irish guy questioning Abraham Hicks about this very subject. How could all the pain and suffering be chosen, and what they talked about, attracted at that time by those people? And that was very valid and very I'm sure most people will have that question. So the way to look at it is I always take it back to an individual level, because we're not here to change the world outside of us. We're here to change the world inside of us. It's the only one we ever can change. So if we look at things that were the most challenging things in our life, so a lot of things that were, at the time, they were very painful, they caused suffering, at the time they felt like the worst things that could ever happen to us. If you look back through your life, if you have had a varied life experience, which everyone does, but generally we can get to a point with some things, not everything. Everyone's got their individual journey. We can look back at things that we've seen were just the worst things. We broke up with the love of our life. We had a sickness or an illness. We lost a job. We became completely broke. These are like real world examples. We can generally, down the line, look back at those things and see that a lot of times those things actually were catalysts for great change. So the relationship may have led to a much better relationship. Being broke may have led to creating more abundance and success because you had more drive, you had more character. Those types of things is so we can see later in life that the things that we thought of as the most horrendous challenges and pains were actually blessings in disguise. So Patsy says, Abraham Hicks is amazing. I won money on 3 scratch cards on Sunday after listening to it and following the steps. Wow. So yeah, Abraham Hicks are amazing. I love their teaching. And again, they are another teacher that is on the planet now their teachings come not from the human experience, because when we're in human perspective, we are limited. So amazing. I highly recommend Abraham Hicks to everyone as well. So and apparently Petsy won some money on scratch cards, so there you go. Even better. So Stephanie says, manifest some for me. So yeah, that's real world examples of how we can create our reality. So the challenge comes when we when we do this and someone else says, oh, you can do this, this, and this, and then we go buy the scratch cards and we don't win, and then we say, no, this doesn't work, so it doesn't work for me. But the thing is that not all experiences are relevant for everyone. So my understanding, Abraham Hicks was one of my huge inspirations for most of my spiritual journey, and they still are. But my teachings and understandings have kind of changed slightly. You might think it's like semantics or just words, but it has shifted from, because they talk about the law of attraction, and it's like you attract things to yourself by your vibration. And while I still fully grasp that, I've experienced that, and I know that that is a reality. The understanding that I'm coming from now is more like there's the WW1, WW2, WW3. If you don't know what that means, you can listen back on this video. But I'm coming more from this perspective of WW3 as oneness, as wholeness, so that we don't ever actually attract anything to ourselves, because nothing is actually ever separate from ourselves. So it looks like it in human reality that we attract that person, we attract the money, we attract the health, because we don't experience it in the here and now. It's like something outside of ourselves that we attract to ourselves. And this different perspective, it's not that one is wrong and one is right. This is just I would say this is the more evolved, the higher perspective on that, is that actually nothing is ever separate from ourselves. In human experience, we can feel like we are separate from that relationship, from that money, from that health, but it exists already within us, and it emerges from us, and it might be channeled through another person, through it it comes to us through, but that is because built into the third dimensional reality is this delay in thoughts and emotions and words and the physical manifestation, and that gap is lowering. So be careful what you wish for, and be careful what you put your emotion, and again where you put your thoughts. So from this perspective of WW3, which is like oneness, wholeness, there is no separation, there is no me, there is no you, there is no this life is just an illusion. From that perspective, you can't attract anything to yourself, because everything already is you, everything exists within you. And when you look at it from that perspective, then that's how you get to the key part of what Abraham Hicks teaches. So they talk about being in the vibration of what you want to receive. And I feel like when I was doing those teachings, I struggled with that a lot. And I feel like what that is being, so you're being in the place that you know this already exists within you. It's not something that you have to create, manifest. It's something that you have to allow to emerge from you. It's something that you have to allow to come through you. So you have to really align with your vortex and focused intention while following step-by-step guidelines. It was amazing how it happened, and it showed me how out of my vortex I was as well, and how easy to manifest when you're in it and follow the instructions of your higher self to the ladder. Yeah, absolutely. So our higher selves are awareness of that wholeness. So they know that what we want to manifest, something that creates a desire within us, that perspective, they know it's already there. Once it's one of the teachings of Abraham Hicks, ask and it is given. So it's that we call it forth from within ourselves. It's not separate from us. It's something that's within us that we allow ourselves to experience. That's where I have taken that, and that's what I practice now. And like you, Betsy, I am out of my vortex so many times that I can teach this and talk about it all day and all night, but tomorrow I could have forgotten all of this, and when I'm trying to create something, or something doesn't go right in my life, then it's all gone out the window and I've forgotten all of that. So everyone is it doesn't matter how experienced or how many things we think we know, I'll always forget. We'll always move, we'll always say something that we don't want, we'll act in a way we don't want, and it goes against everything that we have learned. But when we truly come from that third perspective of oneness and know that nothing is separate from us, that time is an illusion, this world is an illusion, nothing is separate from you, we know that it can emerge from us when we choose to let it, and we choose to allow it. And the other thing, like I said before, is not everything is relevant for every person. So we might want to manifest this beautiful house and won the lottery and the best partner and have just this amazing life. In this incarnation, that might not be relevant to us. We may have had incarnations living as a king, and we've experienced all those. So in this incarnation, we need to go through so many failed relationships, like I have. We need to feel what it feels like to have no money and no money come in, and I have felt that. We need to experience ill health or disease to feel the limitations of that. That might be what we need, and actually what we choose on a soul level to experience within this. So where the law of attraction and those types of teachings fall down is when it doesn't work, we think it's broken. And Abraham always talks about that. It's never broken. So, but I think the way to look at that is that some things are just not relevant to this incarnation. So I didn't think we would get to Abraham Hicks, but I love their teachings, and I highly recommend their books and videos. Search on YouTube for their teachings. And anyone from Ireland who is a bit skeptical, search for a video called, I think it's called The Missing Piece. And that was the very first Abraham Hicks video that I watched. And it was an Irish guy, and he had a baseball hat on, and he was trying to hide his appearance. And he was actually talking with Abraham about all of the things that we're discussing today, and how the pain and suffering of people could not be attracted by them. That's an amazing video. I remember when I first watched it, I was every bit as skeptical as the guy. I agreed with everything he said, and then complete paradigm shift, consciousness shift, don't know what happened. Within a few months, I completely shifted, and I understood everything that Abraham was saying. So it's funny how the world works. So I think I have gone on quite a bit on this video. I hope I have shared the perspective of the ayahuasca, the World War III, which is actually the world within, from 3 different perspectives of view. I hope that has given you some insight. That dream where I was given, and it's such a gift, and I feel truly blessed that I am given these gifts of these insights. And I know the reason I'm given it is to share with people, no matter how unpopular it will be. I know this will definitely not be popular with everyone. It definitely wouldn't have been with me before, but I choose to share these concepts. I choose to share what I feel is true for me, and I share this with humility. I share it with complete awareness that there'll be people that won't be ready to hear this, and there'll be people think that I'm uncaring, or that I don't understand things that people go through. And I can tell you that absolutely, of course I don't understand that. Within the ayahuasca experience, I feel like I did. I felt all of the suffering of humanity. I felt what it was like to be on the bottom end of all the suffering, and I felt that viscerally in my being for hours. But everyone is individual, and it's infinite experience, and there's infinite perspectives. So I share this with you as my truth, as guidance I have received from technologies and consciousness and wisdom that is beyond our physical reality, and we can't explain it, and I'm not going to try, but I'm telling you, I'm sharing it as my truth. And if you feel some resonance of truth within your heart with this sharing, with this teaching, use it to go within you, and know that the war is not outside of you. The war is always within, and there are 3 levels, there are 3 perspectives that you can take that, and wherever you are, start there. So I am going to go have some breakfast. I tried to start this video so many times today, and it was like something was resisting. Maybe it was because it's controversial, maybe it was because, I don't know, but I shifted so many times. I went to my laptop, I went to my phone, there was noise outside, there was wind, everything was trying to stop me to doing this, and I knew it was important that I did this. So if you have found benefit from this video, please share it with anyone that you feel would like to hear it or could benefit. And I am so grateful to have this there's they're cutting down trees, and actually I've been having a lot of hay fever the last few days, and for the whole duration of this video it hasn't bothered me, so obviously something is working in my favor to get this information across. I'll probably be a sneezing mess after this is finished, but please share this video with anyone that you feel needs to hear this, anyone that's going through issues, anyone that's particularly stressed about looking how the outside world is currently, which I'm sure there's a lot of people. The first step to that is actually stepping away from those things for at least some time. They turn off the news, turn off those things that are based in fear, and turn within. The news, the wisdom, everything is within you. All of the answers are within you. All of that which you need for your soul's evolution, for your life purpose, is within you, and all the answers can be received when you get quiet and go within. So please share this video. You can connect with me on activatebreathwork.com for channeling and information and blogs from Ananda, non-physical consciousness, who I have been channeling for some time, and who, to be honest, I could tell you that most of this stuff that is coming through me now is coming from them and others. This is not something I learned in Northern Ireland, I can tell you, or anywhere else that I have lived. And anyone that knows me will know that this is the case. Go to martinmcnichol.com. Lots of amazing inspirational, uplifting material there. Really, really recommend that. And yes, please share with me any questions, any doubts, anything you'd like. You can ask a question on the video, or if you don't like in public, you can send me something in Messenger in private. I understand, and I will keep your anonymity as always. So until next time, I want to wish you all the love in my heart. From my heart to yours, namaste and goodbye.